The evening settled gently over the hills, folding the last warmth of the day into a soft, lingering glow. A quiet breeze drifted through the tall grass, brushing each blade as though it wished to greet them before night arrived. In the distance, a few sheep chimed with faint, mellow bells. Not urgent, not restless, only part of the natural rhythm that carried the land from daylight into dusk. Elias walked the familiar slope with a steady, unhurried step. His boots pressed into the earth as though greeting an old friend, sinking slightly into the cool soil, still holding a trace of afternoon sun. He inhaled slowly, letting the air tinged with the scent of dry hay and autumn wind settle deep inside his chest. Every breath made the world around him feel softer, calmer, almost weightless. Above him, the sky was beginning its slow transformation. Gold softened into amber, and amber eased into a muted rose, all drifting toward the deeper blues that waited patiently at the edge of night. It was the kind of sky that never repeated itself, though Elias had seen thousands of evenings on these same hills. Each one had felt like a quiet conversation between the earth and the fading light. He paused for a moment, resting his hand on the worn wooden staff he carried. The hillside stretched wide and gentle below him, dotted with grazing sheep, whose wool glowed faintly in the warm light. The world felt unhurried here, as if time itself took smaller steps, matching his own. Elias let the silence wrap around him. It wasn't an empty silence, but a comforting one, filled with textures, the soft rustle of grass, the distant murmur of a stream, the hush of wind moving in slow, thoughtful patterns. It was the kind of silence that invited him to breathe a little deeper. And as he stood there, he noticed something else, something subtle. The evening light seemed to linger longer than usual, stretching across the slope like a gentle hand placed upon the land. It wasn't brighter nor stranger, only softer, as though it wished to stay with him a little while more. Elias smiled faintly at the thought. There was something different about the dusk tonight, something that felt quietly attentive. As he resumed his path along the hill, he wondered, not urgently, but with a peaceful curiosity, what the evening might want to show him. Elias continued along the familiar ridge, the slope curving downward into the wide meadow that had been his quiet world for decades. His days followed a rhythm as gentle as the land itself, watching over the flock, mending a fence when winter winds loosened it, and walking these hills at the same unhurried pace he had learned from the seasons. Nothing here demanded more than patience, and patience was something he had grown into naturally. He paused beside an old boundary stone, its surface cool beneath his fingertips. He had touched this stone countless times, usually without thinking, as if greeting an anchor that held the shape of his days in place. The sheep grazed close by, drifting in soft clusters, their movements calm and predictable. Elias appreciated the steadiness of it all, the simplicity, the quiet tasks, the way each day unfolded like a page with familiar handwriting. Yet even within that peaceful sameness, a small, nameless space had formed inside him over the years. Not sadness, not longing, just a gentle, unspoken distance between himself and something he could not quite name. It came to him most clearly in the evenings, when the light thinned across the hills, and he found himself lingering a little longer on the ridge than he once did. Lately, he had begun paying more attention to the way the light changed as the sun lowered, how it softened the lines of the hills, how it brushed the backs of the sheep, how it felt almost tangible for a moment before slipping away. He didn't know why he counted it, or what he hoped to find in that daily ritual. He only knew that the act of watching the evening settle had become as essential as guiding the flock home. Tonight, something in that fading glow felt as though it was waiting for him to notice. As Elias followed the curve of the hillside, the last rays of the sun bent low, slipping between the gentle crests of the land. The light stretched in long, delicate bands across the meadow, not hurried, not fading in its usual steady retreat. Instead, it seemed to ease forward more slowly, as if reluctant to leave the warm folds of the earth. He stopped once more, his breath settling into a calmer rhythm. The air around him carried a faint shift, a subtle pause between day and night. The bells on the sheep quieted, and even the wind lowered its voice, passing through the grass in softer strokes. Elias lifted his head, eyes narrowing slightly as he watched the light gather along the slope. It shimmered in a way he had not seen before, not brighter, not more vibrant, simply attentive, as though the dusk itself had turned to regard him. A faint warmth touched his shoulder, a small glint of gold that held its place a moment longer than it should have. Elias stood very still, letting the moment linger. There was no surprise in him, only a gentle curiosity rising like a slow tide. "The light feels different tonight," he murmured, the words barely louder than a breath. And in that quiet, the world seemed to agree. Elias took a few slow steps forward, the hillside dipping gently beneath his feet. The air felt quieter now, as though the whole meadow were listening with him. Even the sheep, usually shifting and murmuring in small scattered sounds, had settled into a soft stillness. Their bells chimed only when absolutely necessary, each note drifting long and low through the evening air. The band of fading light ahead of him seemed to rest upon the grass like a thin veil. Elias approached it with a steady, thoughtful pace, not out of caution, but out of respect for the calm that had gathered around him. He had walked these slopes his entire life, yet tonight the land felt newly awake, attentive in a way he couldn't quite name. When he reached the brightest patch upon the hill, he knelt and ran his fingers through the tall grass. The blades were cool, brushed with the last warmth of the day, but the light resting on them felt different. It shifted almost imperceptibly when his hand passed through it, as though following the motion in a gentle, delayed response. Not magic, he thought, not in any grand or impossible sense, but something familiar, something quietly alive in the world he had always known. He let his hand hover there, palm open, as if offering a greeting. The light deepened slightly in tone, turning a muted gold, before easing back into its softer hue. Elias breathed slowly, feeling the moment settle into him the way evening settles into the land. "Perhaps you simply want to be counted," he whispered to the glow before him. And as the breeze carried his words across the hillside, the light shifted once more, faint, subtle, like a nod given in return. The last shimmer of daylight drifted across the meadow, stretching itself thin over the soft curve of the land. Elias remained still for a moment, letting the quiet settle fully around him. The hillside breathed in long, slow exhales, grass brushing gently against grass, sheep adjusting their weight with soft rustles, wind arranging itself into a calmer rhythm. Everything seemed to settle into place, as though the world were waiting for him to continue his walk. He rose from where he knelt and began moving along the ridge, each step sinking into the earth with a muted, grounding thud. The light followed him in its own unhurried way, sliding across the grass in long, tapering strands that shifted from warm gold to a dusky rose. It was a transformation he had witnessed hundreds of times, yet tonight he felt more aware of each subtle change, the thinning warmth, the gentle cooling of the air, the softening of contrasts as shadows lengthened. The sky above held on to its color, as though savoring the last minutes of day. Thin wisps of cloud caught the dying sun, glowing faintly like embers drifting in the breeze. The deeper hues of dusk began to pool at the edges of the horizon, a gentle blue that darkened almost imperceptibly with each passing breath. Elias watched as the colors folded into one another. Gold eased into rose. Rose surrendered to lavender. Lavender deepened into the indigo that signaled the quiet arrival of night. The hills accepted this shift with their usual grace, softening and blending into a single, enveloping landscape. The lambs closest to him shifted their footing, their wool catching the light in small, warm patches. It reminded Elias of the old knitted blankets his mother used to mend, how certain threads would catch the candle glow, creating little moments of brightness in an otherwise muted surface. He continued counting these glimmers of light as they appeared and faded, not in numbers exactly, but in moments. Each shimmer felt like a gentle recognition exchanged between him and the evening. As the light grew softer, the sounds of the meadow settled into a deeper calm. The bells around the sheep's necks chimed with a slower cadence, each note stretching into the next. The wind no longer rustled the grass, it flowed through it, a steady hum that moved like breath across the land. Below the ridge, a small stream whispered its way through a bed of polished stones. Elias could hear its rhythm more clearly now, the water slipping over and around obstacles with a gentle insistence. That sound had always brought him comfort. Even in the quietest moments, the stream continued, constant, reliable, endlessly weaving its soft patterns through the valley. Farther away, a barn door creaked as it settled. A bird called out once before deciding the day was done. Hooves shuffled lightly in the grass as one or two sheep drifted into new patches of clover. All of it blended into a single low murmur, like a lullaby composed by the land itself. The scent of the meadow deepened with the cooling air. Dry hay mingled with the darker sweetness of soil that had been warmed all afternoon. A faint hint of pine drifted from a small grove nearby, and the breeze carried traces of distant firewood from the village below. Someone preparing their evening hearth, no doubt. Elias inhaled slowly, filling his lungs with the layered scents. They grounded him, reminded him of the many years he had walked these same paths. Even as time reshaped his days, the air here remained steady, offering its quiet reassurance. The temperature dropped just slightly, brushing coolness along the back of his neck. Elias pulled his wool coat a bit closer, feeling its coarse texture against his fingers. The fabric held the faint smell of lanolin and open pasture, a scent he had come to associate with home. He knelt beside a patch of tall grass, letting his hands trail over the blades. They were cool now, tipped with droplets of moisture drawn from the shifting air. When he gathered a few strands between his fingers, they bent softly, yielding without resistance. Beneath them, the ground held a comforting firmness, solid, familiar, warm in places where the sun had lingered. A lamb approached him, nudging his elbow with a curious, gentle headbutt. Its wool was thick and surprisingly warm, holding the heat of the day like a small living hearth. Elias stroked its back with slow, even motions. The lamb relaxed into the touch, its breath steady and soft. The simple warmth of the animal grounded him further. He felt the quiet exchange of comfort, his hand offering calm, the lamb offering its presence. As he stood again, Elias let his gaze sweep across the expanse of land he had tended for so many years. He recalled, faintly, the restless energy of his youth, a time when he believed the world's wonders lived only beyond the horizon. He used to imagine distant mountains, foreign markets, ships bound for faraway coasts. He had traveled a little, once, not far, not long, just enough to satisfy the curiosity that had tugged at him. But he remembered returning to these hills with a quiet relief, realizing that the world he had sought elsewhere existed in its own gentle form right here. Over the years, the meadow had taught him to see the beauty in its subtleties, the warmth of wool beneath his hand, the shift of color at dusk, the way the land breathed with him. He no longer searched for spectacle. The quiet moments were enough. And yet, tonight, something within him felt slightly more awake, more attuned to the land than usual, as though the years of watching the light had prepared him for this very evening. The sun dipped lower, the final curve of its gold resting briefly against the line of distant hills. At that moment, the light gathered into a narrow band, a soft, gleaming seam that ran along the ridge before him. It wasn't bright or sharp. It was gentle, like a thread of silk laid carefully on the earth. Elias felt the shift before he fully understood it. The light didn't simply shine on the hillside. It seemed to settle into it, resting there as though held in place by the land itself. He stepped closer, and the band of light softened in tone, shifting from gold to a muted rose that deepened with the lowering sun. A slight flutter stirred in his chest, not of surprise but of recognition, a sense that this moment, quiet as it was, had been waiting for him. He walked slowly along the edge of the glow. With each step, the hue changed by a fraction, a soft blending, almost imperceptible, that seemed to follow the rhythm of his breathing. Inhale, a warm tint. Exhale, a cooler shade. He stood still again, letting the moment unfold around him. The land, the sky, the shifting band of light, all of it felt connected, not by magic in the fantastical sense, but by a shared stillness. A stillness that acknowledged him, a stillness that welcomed him. And as Elias rested his hand over his heart, he understood that the light was not doing anything extraordinary. It was merely allowing him to see what had always been there. The quiet pulse of the world, steady and gentle, waiting to be noticed. The evening deepened, wrapping the hillside in a calm that felt almost luminous. Elias breathed in slowly, letting the warmth of the fading day settle into him, and for the first time in a long while, he felt wholly present, exactly where he needed to be. Elias remained on the ridge as the last traces of daylight thinned into the evening air, the soft band of color slowly dissolving into the growing blue. He watched the shift with a quiet stillness, feeling something settle gently inside him. Not an answer exactly, but a recognition long in the making. For years he had walked these slopes, believing the quiet was simply a part of the land. But tonight, as he traced the path of fading light with his eyes, he understood something more tender. The land had been tending him just as faithfully as he had tended it. Every dusk he had ever paused to witness, every moment of golden calm he had let wash through him, had been a kind of companionship offered freely and without expectation. Elias exhaled, a slow breath that seemed to blend with the deepening air. The emptiness he had carried, that faint, unspoken distance inside him, felt less like a hollow now and more like a space where light could settle. He realized he had never been lacking anything. He had simply forgotten to see the quiet abundance already surrounding him. Counting the evening light was not a habit born of routine. It was his way of noticing the world's small gestures of tenderness, gestures that, tonight, he finally allowed himself to receive. And standing there, beneath the rising twilight, he felt gently, deeply held. Elias turned toward the flock as twilight deepened. The sheep gathered in soft, rounded shapes across the hillside. Their wool caught the last faint traces of color, holding onto a blush of rose and gold, even as the sky shifted toward blue. He felt a small smile rise, unforced and quiet, at how the evening seemed to rest gently upon them. He walked among the animals, laying a hand on a familiar shoulder here and there, letting his calm drift outward in slow, steady waves. The flock responded in their own simple way. A brief nudge, a softened bleat, a bell chiming lightly as if acknowledging his presence. Elias looked over the meadow once more and felt an unexpected warmth at the thought that the beauty he'd witnessed wasn't his alone. It lingered in the animals' soft breaths, in the hush of the grass, in the steady rhythm of the land preparing for night. "If the light can be this kind to me," he murmured, "then it must be kind to all who pass through here." And for a moment, it felt true in a way that needed no explanation at all. Elias began guiding the flock toward the small stone-walled enclosure at the base of the hill. The path downward was gentle, worn smooth by years of familiar passage. Each step felt quieter than the last, as though the earth itself had begun cushioning his movements to ease him into the coming night. The sheep followed in slow, drifting clusters, their bells sounding softer now, rounder, almost drowsy. The air had cooled into a tender chill, brushing against Elias's cheeks with a touch that felt more like a reminder than a warning. The day had folded itself away, and the night was ready to take its place. As he reached the enclosure, he swung the wooden gate inward. It opened with a low, mellow creak, settling back into silence as if respectful of the hour. The sheep filed inside, their hooves tapping gently against the packed earth floor. Elias paused for a moment, resting his hand on the gate before closing it, allowing the quiet to deepen around him. Near the corner of the enclosure hung a small lantern, the same one he lit each evening. He struck a match, holding it steady until the wick caught. A warm amber glow rose slowly from the lantern's glass, casting soft, wavering shapes onto the stone walls. The light was not bright, it didn't need to be. It offered a sense of continuity, a gentle echo of the day's fading glow. Elias lifted the lantern and stepped outside again. The meadow lay behind him in a wash of deepening indigo, the hills smoothing into silhouettes that seemed to breathe with the night. The wind moved in long, unbroken strokes, no longer carrying scents of hay or sun-warmed soil, but the cool purity of the coming hours. He took a slow breath, feeling the weight of the day slip from his shoulders, replaced by a calm that wrapped itself around him like a well-worn blanket. The world felt hushed, softened at the edges, ready to release itself into stillness. Lantern in hand, Elias began the short walk home, letting the steady glow guide him through the gentle dark. When Elias reached the small rise beside his cottage, He paused and looked back toward the hills. The meadow was a single quiet shape now, wrapped in the deep blue of night. The last traces of sunset had fully dissolved into the sky, yet he felt them lingering somewhere within him, a soft afterglow that pulsed like a steady, secret warmth. He lifted the lantern slightly, its glow brushing over the grass at his feet, mirroring the gentleness of the light he had followed all evening. It struck him then, with a quiet certainty, that the day's beauty had not vanished with the sun. It had simply changed form, settling into the stillness of the night and into the deeper stillness inside his chest. Elias exhaled, slow and easy. The world felt calm. He felt calm. And as he stepped into the comforting dark around his home, the night welcomed him softly, as though the light had never truly left at all.